What's up, guys? Welcome back. Today we are going to get into the electronics on the 1957 Strat project. I was able to get everything sorted out, everything tested, everything cleaned up, and ready for install. And we're basically going to assemble everything to be a full loaded assembly, so when the body does come back from the reef-in, it is ready to load in. But first I want to address a couple of things. Back from everything has been good. I've seen some regular comments pop up, so I was thinking about maybe addressing them now. One of the most common ones was maybe I would have just left it alone, you're ruining the guitar. I understand if this was a 100% original, untouched, unmolested, unmessed with 1957 Strat, you can bet your bottom dollar the last thing I would be doing was refinishing it, pulling it apart, disassembling it, and soldering on it, putting frets in it. But the guitar was a player. The body sustained a horrible tomato soup red reef-in, and at that point I wanted to do the guitar justice and put the proper reef-in on there. And this is not making excuses, I'm just kind of explaining the process of what goes into, when you receive something like this or you buy something like this, your thought process in making it right. The neck has some amazing, incredible playwear on it, which led me to refret it. And some people told me I'm doing it wrong, you're supposed to pull the frets out of the side. That's been a real popular thing lately. It's come up in a few videos, and yes, the frets do come out the side. And if you've been a long-standing member of the YouTube channel, you would have seen me most notably do a refret on my 57 Esquire where I drove the frets out the side. Now, I did try pushing the frets out this side, and it turned out to be a lot more work than it was to just pull the frets topside. The tangs were extremely old, the wood was extremely played in, and I was able to remove those frets with no chip out, no nothing. It can be done both ways if you're extremely careful and you're patient and you take your time. They can be pulled out the top, and they can also be driven out the side. So I just wanted to address that. I know that the frets do come out the side, I just chose to pull them out topside. Now the other main thing was the guitar is fake, a fake guitar, not a 57. At this point in my life, buying and selling vintage guitars, I know what I'm looking at. I know enough people. I've done enough deals with enough good people. I wouldn't buy anything that left me second guessing. I know what I was buying. I knew the seller needed the guitar to go to a good home so she could pay some debt. And there was no BS with the guitar. You can bet that I will not ever buy anything that I'm unsure of on this channel. You won't see any fakes. It's because it is what it is. And then the playwear. A lot of people were saying the neck was fake because of the wear everywhere. The fact of the matter is the neck is a really great feeling neck, and it does show signs of extreme wear because this neck was played. You can feel it. You can actually feel where these finger grooves have laid into the neck. Now up here, when you get into the upper register, you can say to yourself, well, yeah, well, what accounts for that? So over here, you look at a lot of guys like Keith Richards, Ronnie Wood, Buddy Guy has a nice maple Strat, Roy Buchanan's Telly. A lot of maple neck players will have wear up here all the way up. That's not due to the fretting hand. That's actually from the picking stroke. The strings hitting, the pick hitting the strings and touching the fretboard. You can see it's very uniform. So I would advise you guys to go Google some really worn maple necks and you'll see the wear there. That's just a common thing. It is not from playing, because I don't think anybody was taking this 57 Strat and playing on the low E all the way at the 20th fret. But it's more from the picking hand. You can see a lot of that on some of those guitars that I mentioned. I just wanted to maybe, put some people's mind at rest because it seemed to be bothering them a lot more than it did me. So those are just some concerns that everybody had, and I wanted to address those so we can move forward with this project and have a positive outcome. I'm holding the neck here. I have finished the fret edges, rolled them all. I went with these 6100 stainless frets. That was another thing that raised eyebrows, but it's just what I like. It's what I prefer on Stratocasters. I removed all of the shellac from the back of the neck. I did not touch the face of the headstock because this decal is original and still in great shape. So at some point I may tape it off and wet sand it or try to remove some of that finish. But I think as of now, I'm just going to leave this be because this neck feels super fast, super comfortable. Taking all of that glossy shellac off the back really smooth this out. You can feel some of that nice checking in there. And yeah, I'm really excited. a little funkiness off this project and turn it into something good. So there you go. We got the neck finished. Now we're going to get into the electronics. All right, so I'm going to go over the components and talk a little bit about what I have going on here, and then we'll get into assembling everything. So here is the old ABS plastic pick guard. One thing about these pick guards is they did not shrink like the later nitrate pick guards, the 3-layer pick guard. See where this side is quite worn and yellowed, and this side is that bright white. But yeah, this is an original guard. It does have a slight crack here at the switch, but it is still holding together strong and not an issue right now. So we're going to go with this. I'm not going to replace it. So another concern was me unsoldering the pickups. The volume pot was frozen here. It only moved a little bit. So I removed the pickups because I wanted to be able to work on the pot, and I also didn't want to risk damaging them. So that was the reason for that. Yeah, I know you're breaking a solder joint, but in the end, you know, to do it right, sometimes you got to do what you don't want to do. But I had to do it. We got this volume pot freed up. It does have a little crunch in there, but I'm hoping that will fade its way away. For that, I like to use Fader F5 from Deoxit. Really cool. It's good to almost help lubricate it in a way. It doesn't deteriorate at all. Great product. I'll just give those one more spray for good luck. We have a switch tip. Like I said, we have our surgical tubing we're going to use as adjustment for the pickups. That's you commonly find in Fender guitars now. And the pickups. These beautiful black bobbin 1957 pickups. Really great. I'll test these and show you guys what I got for readings. So I think first thing I'll do is I'll get this assembled without the pickups in. Also, this is not a jig that I would bolt the pots to work on, though it is nice. This does act as the grounding as well for the single layer guards. They just had this plate. When you went on to 59, 60, 61, all the way into the late 60s, they had a big shield. The shield would cover the entire pick guard. This switch was awful frozen as well. The F5 fader did come in handy as well with that, and I was able to free it up some. You know, with this plastic being so thin, you don't need to really crank down on the screws. You want to make sure you have a good ground connection. And sometimes just cleaning the piece of metal there for the grounding plate, you know, because over time this can oxidize. So you just want to get that cleaned up. So most of the repair needed to the electronics was, you know, just giving it a thorough checkup. I really do feel I like trying to use the original pots when I can. I feel like there's a lot of tone in the old stack pole pots. There's guys like Joel from JW Restoration that repair them, restore them. He's a genius, really great guy. He helped me out, and it's just a good guy to have on your side. Now these old stack pole pots, they have a great serrated washer on the other end of them, and they really bite into the ground to provide that solid ground. So as of now, we have the pot switch assembly installed. Wipe off some of my fingerprints from that Deoxit. The switch is moving so nice now. Great. Okay. Volume knob. It's all about aesthetics, so when it's fully on, we'll put that there. Tone knob fully on. We'll try to match that. Fully on. And this is how the tone knob came off. So you can tell that at some point the neck tone position was well favored and well used, judging by the font being worn off on there. So get that assembled, and we're good. Okay, now we're going to load these pickups in. I know sometimes they're very frail, and you want to go easy with them. I will kind of show you a little something that I do. Okay, so when mounting these, what I'll do is I'll use the shrink tubing as a way to hold the pickup screw in place. You know, so kind of keeps it centered. Keeps the pickup straight, and then you can just spin the pickup screw without trying to line everything all up at once. This is the beauty of player grade vintage guitars, and I guess, you know, the guitar, even though it had all original parts, I guess because it was played and it needed some upkeep, you know, I guess you can consider it a player grade vintage guitar. So the beauty of it is you can do this stuff, and it's, you know, you never want to have to, you know, pull apart an old guitar, but in a situation like this when you have really no choice, you know. Look at that, those beautiful windings too. I just want to show you guys this. It's just great stuff. So basically, in a pinch by yourself, you know, if you leave the cover on, you don't have to worry about hurting the pickup now. So you just kind of get those all in, lined up. Keep a hand placed in the back. You just thread them in lightly till they catch. We're not really worried about pickup adjustment or pickup heights right now. That'll come later once the guitar is together. I'm extremely antsy waiting for this body to come back, but I don't, you know, that's something you don't want to rush. And like I said, Chad Underwood is handling it, and he's really good at what he does. And, you know, I don't want to put any heat. Just let him do his thing. No pressure. And that'll give you better results in the end. The body date on the guitar was I believe it was June '57. You can see a lot of later 57s and 58 Strats with these really yellowed knobs and pickup covers. I actually have a spare set that's extremely yellowed. It's just something that the material they used did at that time. But they are original. They do have the tooling marks in there. You know, and then learning about this stuff, there's so much great information online. You know, there's a great group that I'm part of on Facebook. It's called the Pre-CBS Facebook group. They're really, really great. Bunch of great guys over there. My buddy Rich, Sesko, my buddy Michael, they're all over there. We're always, you know, geeking out over Pre-CBS stuff, which is a lot of fun because everybody just pulls out these great pieces from their collection. And, you know, and I'm sure, you know, I can't speak for the group, but I don't think you need to own an old guitar to be part of the group. It's just, you know, it's a great community. And then there's Guitar HQ, which I've taken a lot of information from and learned a lot from. It's a great website, guitarhq.com. Really, really great, super informative, very helpful when purchasing a vintage guitar. So the first thing I'm going to do is attach the grounds, because it doesn't matter where these go, they're all going to go to the same spot, and you want a nice, healthy solder joint there. So I'm going to get those attached and get that out of the way. I also just watched in a video not too long ago about Eric Johnson talking about putting the serrated washer on the outside, and I didn't even notice this until now, but this one does have it. Not sure that is an effect on tone as he claims, but because when the guitar was refinished, they undid the joints at the input jack, you can see it's quite shoddy. So I'm just going to remove it there. I'm going to attach my wires at the pot, and then when the guitar gets assembled, I'll make my connections at the jack. But that's pretty cool. Maybe we'll leave that jack wired up like that and see if that does have any kind of effect on tone. Okay, we know where that's going to go first, so I'll send the input jack wire in. I'll hit that with some solder here. Now the trick is going to be to tie all the grounds in, because essentially you want them all to the same spot as a reference point. The pot is an extremely broad surface and acts as a heat soak. So in some ways you want to let that heat penetrate and get that solder pretty liquid, but at the same time you don't want to do anything to damage the internals of the pot itself. I'll just tag this ground. Over time these input jack wires can get quite worn out, but this one still has plenty of lead left to it. So the great part about this is, for the most part, I'm just able to use the solder that's there and really get it to wick up. So okay, the grounds are on. Now, if you wanted to check your work, you know, this isn't a perfect way to do it, but just put your meter on continuity. You can hear by that beep that everywhere I'm checking is a ground point. So for the most part, we are fully grounded. I've done this enough times to kind of have the Strat wiring figured out, but it's always good to bring up an image. The switch can be confusing at times because you figure up would be there, but it's not. You know, you got to kind of factor all of that in. We're going to find our bridge spot first. Again, if you want to find continuity, the best way to do that, grab the bridge at the bobbin, the first one we checked. Okay, so this is going to be our bridge. Clean the tip, heat that up, that's it. Now I can install that wire free of charge. Clean the soldering iron really well and give it some new solder. And look at that. You do all that and you get a nice, clean, shiny connection, which is valuable. Okay. Doesn't have a whole mess of solder on it, so I think we'll be good. Get that set in there. Clean the tip. Wick some new solder in there. Give it a little twist over to make a mechanical connection, which is always good. Just let the heat do its thing. And there you go. Now we'll kind of just lay this out the way it usually was in the factory. I believe it went down this way like that. over the pot. That's why you see the worm route in there, for all this wiring to fit over. Go through down that way. And one more now. And we have our assembled 1957 guard. Pots don't actually feel bad once the knobs are on there and you can move them around. Switch is moving nice and comfortably. We have our new surgical tubing in with our pickups. We have good grounding. Everything laid out the way it should be. Do something like that. Just kind of get in there, physically move that stuff around. I put the pickup selector into the neck position, and I made sure my volumes and tones are all wide open. So this should essentially, if we did our wiring right, we should get a reading on the neck pickup, which I believe was about 5.6 before when I tested it. It won't give us a dead on reading, but so we have about 5.46 there, which is good. We'll go over to the middle. Everything's still wide open. Middle reads 5.6. And then we'll go down over to the bridge. That was 5.7. And we have 5.68. So the neck seems to be taking some load, which is okay. We're at about 5.5, so that's not the end of the world. So we are assembled here, patiently waiting for the body to come back from the refin. We have the neck ready. The tremolo assembly has all been cleaned. I'm really happy that I went with the surgical tubing in here to just get proper adjustment on these pickups. I do like to adjust the pickups and get the most I can out of them. It's just really cool to see. You have, you know, all this historical stuff. That masking tape was put on there in 1957. Get that old capacitor even, you know, military spec. When, you know, these potentiometers, they're stamped with the year and week that they were built, and it's just really cool. I'm a big old school Fender fan, and I just think some of this stuff is really, really, really trick. Big fan of old vintage Fender stuff, so that's where we're at now. Next update on this, I don't think there's much more I can do besides, you know, get the body back and go through everything. So there you go. We have the electronics fully assembled. Thanks for watching this video. I hope you guys are excited as I am about this guitar. I can't wait to get it all together and hear it come alive. We'll talk real soon. Peace.